Okay, I might be a little bit late to the party on this one, but I feel like I need to talk about it. Did you know that Apple has removed one of its key features from the new Apple Watch Series 9 and the Apple Watch Ultra 2? That's right, if you go on Apple's website right now and go to purchase one of these watches, you'll be greeted with a message that says Apple Watch Series 9 and Ultra 2 no longer include the blood oxygen feature. The blood oxygen feature, of course, being the ability to detect how much oxygen is saturated in your blood from your wrist using a special optical sensor on the back of the watch. Apple's blood oxygen feature was introduced way back in 2020 on the Apple Watch Series 6 when everyone was checking their SpO2 like crazy, because that's what you did back then. The blood oxygen feature and sensor are no longer enabled on new Apple Watches sold by Apple in the United States beginning on January 18th, 2024, which was a few days ago at the time of posting this video. So what gives? Why is this feature disabled? Well, if you've missed some of the news headlines lately, this issue all boils down to a patent infringement lawsuit between a company called Masimo and Apple. Masimo being a tech company that focuses on medical devices, including, you guessed it, blood oxygen saturation sensors. So Masimo essentially sued Apple for copying their SpO2 sensor, and back in December of 2023, this lawsuit unfolded and Apple was forced to halt sales of all Apple Watches in the United States. That was with the Series 9 and Ultra 2, and for a temporary time there, you couldn't even buy an Apple Watch. If you went to apple.com, you'd be greeted with a message that said it was no longer available. So after some time went by, the Apple Watch came back on the market, and then a couple of days later, it was banned yet again. So to get around this whole issue, Apple just went ahead and pulled the plug on the SpO2 sensor on all new Apple Watches. So at the end of the day, what does this all mean for you? Well, the good news is if you're an existing user and you purchased your Apple Watch Ultra 2 or Series 9 before January 18th, 2024, you have no problems. This feature still exists. They're not going to disable it. It still works, and you can still use it right now. In fact, on all of my watches, it still works. However, if you are a new user and you are buying a new Apple Watch Series 9 and Ultra 2, and this is a feature you care about, and it's a big reason why you're buying the watch, maybe, just maybe, you should hold off for a little while until things get worked out. With that being said, it doesn't seem like Apple is going to be permanently removing this feature from all Apple Watches moving forward. It seems like this is sort of a temporary interim period where they're just disabling it so they can work all their legal stuff out, and maybe there's some sort of licensing agreement or something. And then after that, I suspect, I'm just guessing here, I don't really know anything, after some time in the near future, they'll probably just flip the switch and turn it back on. And that brings me to my next question in this video. Does it really matter? I personally rarely, if ever, use a blood oxygen saturation sensor on my watch, and the only time I do is when I'm reviewing one of these watches because it's a sensor on the watch. Don't get me wrong, I totally understand that they do have use cases, and there are people out there who are training at altitude. Maybe you're acclimatizing during a big climb on a big mountain in the Alps or something like that, but let's be honest, what percentage of Apple Watch users are actually doing that stuff with an Apple Watch? And to top that off, I've never found the SpO2 sensors on the back of these watches to be super accurate in the first place. And that's not just Apple, that's any watch, from Garmin to Coros to Polar. They all have somewhat iffy SpO2 sensors because it's really hard to nail that technology down from the back of your wrist. And the reality is, if you do need an accurate and reliable SpO2 sensor, you can pick one up off of Amazon for like 20 bucks that clips to the tip of your finger, and those are much more accurate than any of these watches. And that sort of brings me to the point of this video, where I want to open up a discussion in the comment section down below, because this is all just purely my opinion on this whole situation. I really don't think the removal of the SpO2 sensor should be a deal breaker for you, especially if you don't know how you'll use it in everyday life. So now I want to hear from you. Drop it in the comment section down below. Let's open this conversation up. What do you use your SpO2 sensor for? Is this really important to you? Is this a deal breaker if you're in the market for an Apple Watch? And if you do have an SpO2 sensor on your watch right now, how often do you use it? Are you somebody who uses it regularly? Let me know the application you use it in. And with that, that's sort of the end of this super quick video. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there and get your thoughts as well. And if you found this video fun or helpful or educational, please go down and give that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more videos from me in the future, because I've got a lot coming up. Check out my podcast in the description down below, where I'll probably talk more about this in an upcoming episode, and all my social media stuff like Instagram and Strava and that as well. Check that out too. Okay, this was a weird one, and I'll see you next time. Bye.